I'm Peter Cannon, and as John said, I've worked in Loughborough for 20 years. Those of you who heard Pete Miller speak, we're both from Loughborough. I used to have a former life as a general surgeon in the Nottingham Hospital, so I've some experience of primary and secondary care. And for many years, I've sat on the board of the West Leicestershire Clinical Commissioning Group, the CCG, if you've heard of that. And I'm currently the mental health clinical GP lead for Better Care Together. So I'm going to speak to you for a few minutes just to briefly give you my views on mental health. And I'm going to start by telling you where I think we are now, because it's not a terribly good place. The NHS itself, I believe, is at a bit of a crossroads and may well not be sustainable in its current form from a financial perspective. But the point is, it's not working well for an expanding and ageing population who, of course, are facing complex and serious health threats and to their well-being in a stressful and complex society. The recent focus from the government on mental health is, of course, welcome, but I still believe we're not getting best value for money for the very valuable LLR, Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland Health and Social Care Pound. So we really need to do things differently, don't we? Health outcomes and patient experiences are still suboptimal. And to give you an example, the 20-year reduction in your life expectancy if you have serious mental illness is a scandal and is frankly just not acceptable in the 21st century. There are a lot of good people in the system. There are a lot of people working very hard to improve services. But as a frontline GP, I can tell you on a day-to-day basis, I see that access is still not good, that the services are still disjointed, there are many handoffs within the system, and patients are still struggling to get the help they need. So we need to do things differently. So having said that, where do we want to get to? What does good look like? Well, in some ways, I think for the NHS generally, it's always been about three things. It's about access, we said this earlier. Access needs to be easy and it needs to be timely. It's about choice. It's about patients having a meaningful say in their treatment and thereby being empowered. And of course, it's about quality of medical and social care interventions so that we can improve health outcomes and also the patient experience. I believe now those three things are critically dependent and contingent on integration of services so that we can have holistic and personalised care plans for people. And Pete Miller talked earlier about fractured services. So we need better integration. And people mean different things by integration, don't they? But I mean integration on all levels. So health and social care, statutory and voluntary sector, primary and secondary care, and physical and mental health. All those things. And moreover, I think we need a fundamental shift to a wellness model of delivery. And the medical or illness model, and that's the one I was trained in, is now not redundant exactly, but it's clearly subordinate. We need a wellness model to put forward. Now, having said that, if you have mental health issues and you're becoming unwell, I'm not sure it matters a hell of a lot what we're saying in some committee room in County Hall or in the CCG. What people need is to know what's around them locally, who they can turn to. Yes, we need strong general practice, we need strong community mental health services, we need to be integrated with the community and voluntary sector so that people who are feeling vulnerable don't fall through the gaps in the system. Yeah? They feel held in their communities, in their neighbourhoods, so that they can find their ways back to wellness. So that's where we need to get to at a high level. How are we going to get there? Well, we need your help, and that's why we're here today, but we have made a start. We've established some good partnership working in Better Care Together, and I chair the Mental Health Partnership Board, which is well supported by all stakeholders in LLR. At a local level, you may be aware your GP practices are changing, particularly in the West, but across Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland, GPs are working together in a more federated format and integrating with community mental health and other services. We are well aware and acknowledge the vital importance of prevention and early intervention. We know that 50% of adult mental health problems begin in childhood and adolescence, and you may be aware of the Futures in Mind transformational programme that is now rolling out. We know that's vitally important. I'm also very passionate about the flip side, about recovery, and also making that recovery resilient. That's so important. And again, some of you will be aware of the recovery colleges, the recovery hubs, local area coordination, and I'm still holding a candle for social prescribing in LLR. We've done a lot of work to refocus the crisis response and home treatment team in mental health. We're working on the community mental health teams to streamline them and make them more accessible. And of course, there are many other work streams, as Pete said, a little bit fractured and not joined up at the moment. And because of that, I would say to you, we need radical redesign of the whole system, of the whole patient pathway. We need to look around. We need to look at what's working well elsewhere. And some people have talked about the model in Newcastle, Tyne and Wear that we're looking at the moment. And we need to listen. We need to listen to you. I hope you believe we're doing that. And listen to patients and their carers. Yeah? And we need to embrace co-design as a core principle. We don't want to just do patient engagement as some sort of add-on later in the process. That needs to be built in right from the start. And again, that's what we're about today. And I would also like to say to you, I want to hear from hard-to-reach and vulnerable groups. On my table, there was some discussion about substance misuse. I'm a GP specialist in that. I do a lot of work with substance misuse and people who struggle with that, and also homelessness. And you'll be aware that's a kind of toxic triad, isn't it? Substance misuse, homelessness, and mental health. So we really need to make sure those voices are heard. I have to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, I sit in many, many committees, as I know my colleague Pete does, and talk is cheap. Yeah, it's good to talk, but we really need to get on with things at pace and scale to improve mental health services, patient experience and outcomes. So today is all about a call to action, not for me, yes for me, but for all of us. And I say to you, bring it on. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen.